My name is Gloria Coker, and I have been an artist here in Newport News, Virginia since a long time ago. I started off always being the kid in the class that drew the teacher, drew the students, my fellow students, got in trouble, but I never thought that I would ever be an artist. So I went to school to become a psychologist. And eventually, after my kids were born, I did go and get a master's degree in guidance and counseling and decided that wasn't really for me. So I got a job at the Daily Press as an illustrator for the newsroom and wound up doing everything from courtroom art to illustrating stories that were impossible to photograph. So they would ask me to do a drawing. So I have thousands of images of things that I did while I was at the Daily Press. I got into painting by doing watercolor. And I did watercolor when I was pregnant with my daughter. And I liked painting, but I didn't like watercolor all that much, even though I got to be quite good at it. I could really handle watercolors all that well, but you couldn't go back over it back then. It wasn't called water media, it was traditional. You left the white of the paper. Okay, so there I am, and I wanted to correct something, and I couldn't do it because I had to honor the old-time system of leaving the white of the paper. Even though one of my great loves as an artist was John Singer Sargent, and those folks used white anyway. But I developed my skill in watercolor, and then I found that when I corrected stuff, and I threw all caution to the winds, and I started just throwing art, paint, ink, whatever, all over the place, that I felt a lot better about my art. And I decided that I was no longer a traditional watercolorist, and I gravitated to canvas rather than paper and acrylics because I couldn't stand the smell of oil. The turpentine made my asthma flare up, so it was obviously a good choice to do acrylics, which is what I continue to do. And you know, many times I handle them so thickly that people think they're oil anyway. I've always loved the work of John Singer Sargent. We even went up to Boston to see the big exhibit back last January. I love the way he did hands, would love to be able to paint like him, but of course I don't. He and another impressionist, I think he's called an impressionist, named Sorolla, Joaquin Baptiste Sorolla, a Spanish painter back in that era. Loved the way he handled his figures, especially children. So I do a lot of figures, and I try not to have my figures be portrait-like. I don't do portraits. I do a slice of time, a group of people doing something, or a person actually involved in something. So where I got the idea of having much more motion in my art, that came from just a variety of looking around at people's work and seeing how they did motion and how I didn't like the way they did motion, so I wanted to kind of develop my own way. So consequently, some of my work is a lot more rigid than others, and some of it is very loose. Some of it is more portrait-like because you can tell that it is a head with, you know, some features, but a lot of it is just a shape with color in it. And that way I get away from who is that person doing that thing and hope people will concentrate on the act that they are doing, whether they are dancing, playing music, playing in a classical music orchestra or a bluegrass band. My painting process has evolved from painting in watercolor, so I am pretty comfortable doing sketches on paper. I took so many photographic classes at Thomas Nelson Community College that they wanted me to declare a major. So I am comfortable with taking photographs, and I have used my own photographs as bases for my paintings. And then they evolve into things that are more abstract and come more from my head. because I very rarely, if ever, copy a photograph. One of the processes that I really enjoy is that as I'm painting something, whether it is a sketch or a larger image, I take photos of it. I process them, print them out, and then I use those 8x10 prints as a beginning sketch, and I will paint over it. For example, there's a painting in the office of a parade scene with women in it. And I did little sketches, and then I printed them out, and I actually painted on top, right on top of the photo paper. So I process, I'm thinking through how I'm going to handle stuff. The paintings, I don't know, 3 by 4 feet, but I can, and think small, iron out basic design and color problems, and then go about doing a larger image. Sometimes it works in reverse, and I take a picture of an already done painting that's huge, and then I can carve out little areas and make other images from the larger painting, just simplifying it more. I do this a lot. If an image, for example, I thought I didn't like the design, I might tape another piece of paper onto it and then continue so that this becomes a sketch. That was called Arrivals and Departures, being kind of like in an airport. And I will go to an airport when I'm traveling and take pictures of people sitting, walking around, and holding suitcases, etc. And I've never done a big picture of this. This remains just a sketch. Joe's Place, I've done several things that involve kind of coffee shop idea, using the word Joe because that's my dad's name, and just putting a little bit of signage. I don't usually use signage, but if you can see that, that is a mother holding a baby, and then there's a child over there. That's the beginning of a sketch, beginning sketch of a possible painting. Not always do I do anything with these sketches, but I keep them, and they fill up books, and they fill up everything, and I have all kinds of stuff in here. I like women and children, obviously. I like women in the street, obviously. I've worked my way through all kinds of people pictures, including, people sitting at coffee shops, and that's what this is all about. This is music. This is a jazz singer, a gigantic trumpet with people on it. Nelson Fuller from photos that were taken way back and run in the newspaper, and I adapted his image, and also photos that I took inside the building when it was still around. So there's another one. So that is my process, and I try to encourage people when I do workshops to actually take that idea and run with it. Process your own, print out 5 images of the same painting that you're laboring over, and play with it. Play with the color, play with the shapes. You have nothing to lose and everything to gain. And you don't have to work and overwork a painting that you're involved in right now. Like this one has probably 4 images behind it, and I've never been happy with it, and I'm almost happy with this one. Not quite, but almost happy with this one. But that is a process that I do too. I paint over things until they're so heavy you have to use 2 nails to hold them up because of all the acrylic paint that's dried on them.